In one country, a supercar can jump 6 meters through the air, land, and keep driving like nothing happened. A drone can bring you dinner faster than you could walk to the corner store. A robot dog can do a backflip. A machine that looks and moves almost exactly like a real person can hold a full conversation with you. And a 6-year-old kid is already learning to build robots in school before they've even learned long division. This isn't a movie. This isn't the year 2050. This is China right now in the summer of 2026. Here's the strange part. None of this is hidden away in some secret government lab you'll never see. These machines are sitting in shopping malls, driving down public streets, and flying over people's backyards right now, while most of the world hasn't even noticed it's happening. And here's the part almost nobody outside the country understands. This isn't just a few cool inventions scattered around. It's happening everywhere, all at once, in the sky, on the roads, in hospitals, in schools, and in your local corner store. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why some experts believe China isn't just building new gadgets. They're quietly building an entirely new way of life. And it starts with something as simple as a pizza. Dinner falls from the sky. Think about the last time you ordered food. You waited? Maybe 30 minutes? Maybe an hour if the driver got stuck in traffic. In parts of China, that wait is basically gone because your food doesn't come by car anymore. It comes by drone. A delivery company called Meituan, which also operates under the name Kita in some cities, has built an entire highway system in the sky. Their drones fly set routes above the rooftops of major cities like Shenzhen, Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and even Hong Kong and Dubai. As of this year, the company has completed more than 880,000 drone deliveries and runs over 70 regular routes. That's not a test anymore. That's a working everyday service that regular people use to get their lunch. Here's how strange it feels in real life. You order a coffee on your phone. A drone lifts off from a rooftop launch pad, flies over traffic jams that would normally eat up 20 minutes, and lowers your drink down to a small landing box near your building using a little winch, almost like a tiny elevator dropping from the sky. No waiting for a scooter to weave through cars. No wondering if your food got cold. The drone doesn't get stuck behind a red light because it was never on the road in the first place. And it isn't just food. Another Chinese company, JD.com, has built its own fleet of cargo drones for the countryside, flying out to small towns and villages that never had fast delivery before. Some of these areas used to wait days for a simple package because trucks had to wind through narrow mountain roads to reach them. Now a drone just flies straight over the hills and drops the package where it needs to go, cutting a multi-day wait down to a single afternoon. People have started calling these bigger cargo drones flying pickup trucks because that's basically what they are, except they never get stuck in mud and they never need a road at all. These delivery networks also keep working when regular delivery slows down. Drone flights continue at night and even in light rain, using onboard sensors to spot obstacles and adjust their route automatically. A single busy landing spot in a big city can handle as many as 400 orders in one day now, compared to just a handful when the service first launched a few years ago. That's not a cute experiment anymore. That's real infrastructure built into the sky above millions of people's daily lives. To put that number in perspective, 880,000 drone deliveries is close to flying a package to every single person living in a decent-sized American city, all through the sky, without a single truck involved. And that number is only growing. A few years ago, the same company was celebrating its first 100,000 deliveries as a huge milestone. Now they blow past that many orders in just a few months. This is the small stuff, though. The appetizer. Once you see what's happening with cars, robots, and hospitals in this country, delivery drones are going to feel almost normal by comparison. Before we go further, if this is blowing your mind even a little bit, hit that like button and subscribe now. Here's the honest reason why it actually matters this time. In the next section, we're talking about a car that can dance to music, jump over potholes, and drive itself through floodwater like a boat. If you skip it, you're going to miss one of the strangest vehicles ever built by a car company, and you'll want to see it before your friends do. Cars that drive, dance, and float. Let's talk about cars, because this is where things start to feel like science fiction. First, the numbers. More than half of all new cars sold in China last year came equipped with advanced self-driving assistance right out of the factory, technology that can steer, brake, and speed up on its own in certain conditions. In the United States, that number is under 40%. China isn't just testing this technology in a lab somewhere. It's already sitting in the driveways of millions of regular families. Robotaxis, cars that drive themselves with nobody behind the wheel, are already picking up paying passengers in Chinese cities. One company, Baidu, runs a service called Apollo Go that has already completed millions of fully driverless rides, with some of those cars operating with absolutely no backup driver sitting inside at all. Another company, Pony.ai, currently runs close to 1,000 robotaxis and is racing to triple the size of that fleet by the end of this year. A separate ride-hailing company has announced plans to put 100,000 robotaxis on the road worldwide by the year 2030. This isn't a far-off dream anymore. In parts of China, you can genuinely step into a car, close the door, and no human is driving it. What makes this even bigger is how normal it's becoming for regular buyers, not just people hailing a robotaxi downtown. BYD started giving away its advanced driver assistance software for free across almost its entire car lineup, including some of its cheapest models that cost less than $8,000. That means a family buying one of the least expensive new cars in the entire Chinese market can still end up with a car that steers, brakes, and watches the road right alongside them, technology that used to be locked behind a premium price tag reserved only for luxury buyers. And this isn't staying inside China's borders either. A company called WeRide has already partnered with Uber to launch driverless robotaxi rides in the United Arab Emirates, the very first service of its kind in that entire region. That same company has also started running self-driving buses in Singapore. Chinese self-driving technology isn't just winning at home anymore, it's quietly getting exported to other countries, one city at a time, while plenty of people elsewhere are still debating whether they'd even want to try it. Now, here's where it gets a little wild. Take the Xiaomi YU7, an electric SUV built by the same company that makes your phone. If you park it in a spot so tight you can't even open the door, you don't have to squeeze inside or call a tow truck. You just stand outside the car and say a command out loud. The car's built-in AI assistant, listening through microphones spread around the outside of the vehicle, hears you, checks its surroundings using a laser sensor mounted on the roof that maps everything around it in fine detail and carefully backs itself out of the tight spot so you can get in. It's a little like having a very patient, very obedient robot valet who never asks for a tip. And under the hood, this thing isn't slow either. It can sprint from a standstill to 100 kilometers per hour in under 3 seconds, quicker than most sports cars twice its price. But if you want the real jaw-dropper, you have to look at BYD, a Chinese car company that has now built and sold more than 10 million electric and hybrid vehicles. That's more new energy cars than almost anyone else on Earth has ever made. BYD's luxury brand, called Yangwang, makes an SUV called the U8 that can do something most cars simply cannot. Because it has 4 separate electric motors, one for each wheel, it can spin the wheels on one side forward and the wheels on the other side backward at the same time. The result is that the entire car can rotate in place like a tank turning on a battlefield without ever moving forward or backward. The same setup lets it slide sideways directly into a tight parking space instead of doing a 3-point turn like the rest of us. BYD has also demonstrated the U8's ability to handle floodwater emergencies, using its sealed battery and body design so the vehicle can survive being partly submerged if the roads around it flood. Then there's the U9, and this is the one that really breaks people's brains the first time they see it. The U9 uses a suspension system so advanced it can lift each wheel independently, up and down, incredibly fast. That means the car can literally hop over a pothole in the road while driving at speed, launching itself up to 6 meters forward through the air and landing smoothly on the other side like nothing happened. Videos show the same system letting the car bounce gently up and down almost in time with music, which is why people online started calling it the dancing car. It sounds like a gimmick until you realize the same suspension technology helps the car stay planted and controlled at extreme speeds. Speaking of extreme speeds, a special track version of the U9, called the U9 Extreme, reached 496 kilometers per hour, or about 308 miles per hour, at a test track in Germany. That made it the fastest production car ever built, electric or gasoline, beating supercars that cost 2 to 3 times as much. BYD has said they're planning another attempt to push past 500 kilometers per hour later this year. The starting price for a standard U9 is around $233,000, which sounds like a lot until you remember that plenty of gasoline supercars with none of these tricks cost far more. And charging all these cars used to be the slow part, right? Not anymore. BYD has rolled out an ultra-fast charging system so powerful that it can add hundreds of kilometers of driving range in about the time it takes to use a restroom and grab a snack. Compare that to a regular gas station fill-up, and in some cases, charging an electric car is now actually faster than pumping gas. Here's something that puts all of this in perspective. Studies have found that around 85% of people in China say they're comfortable letting a self-driving car take them somewhere, while less than 40% of Americans feel the same way. That gap in trust might end up being the real difference between which country ends up driving the future of transportation and which one ends up watching from the sidelines. To understand how far this technology is spreading beyond just cars, we need to look at something much stranger. Machines that don't just drive, they walk. Meet the robots moving in. Here's a question worth sitting with for a second. What happens when a robot costs less than a used car, walks like a person, and can be shipped straight to your front door? That question isn't hypothetical anymore. A Chinese company called Unitree makes a humanoid robot called the G1. It stands about as tall as an average 8-year-old kid, roughly 1.3 meters, and weighs about 35 kilograms. It has more than 20 moving joints packed into its body, giving it surprisingly human-like motion. It can walk, jog at close to walking pace for a person, sit down, stand up, wave, and keep its balance on uneven ground. The base version starts at around $16,000, which sounds expensive until you compare it to competing humanoid robots from other companies that can cost well over $100,000 for similar capability. Fully loaded research versions of the G1, built for university labs and serious developers, can run up towards $74,000, but even that is still a fraction of what humanoid robots used to cost just a couple of years ago. The G1 isn't just standing around looking impressive either. Researchers at a major Chinese university have taught a version of it to play actual table tennis, reacting to a moving ball in real time and swinging back with the right timing, the same kind of split-second reaction a human player needs. Other versions have been taught to do full backflips, breakdance-style spins, and even follow spoken instructions to complete simple household tasks on their own, using newer AI systems trained specifically to let the robot understand natural language commands instead of pre-programmed routines. The company behind it, Unitree, is aiming to ship around 20,000 of these humanoid robots this year alone, nearly 4 times what they shipped the year before, and it's now the only humanoid robot company in the world that's actually turning a profit while doing it. They've even filed paperwork to sell shares publicly, essentially betting that walking, talking robots are about to become a normal consumer product instead of a science project. Unitree also released a cheaper little cousin to the G1 called the R1, priced at less than $5,600, roughly a sixth of what the original G1 cost when it first launched. Prices for these machines are falling so fast that what looked like an impossible luxury 2 years ago is turning into something close to an affordable gadget today. These robots are getting tested in ways that sound almost made up. Beijing hosted the world's first half marathon for humanoid robots, a real 13-mile race where teams of engineers sent walking, running robots down an actual public road course to see which machine could handle the distance without falling over or overheating. Some robots didn't make it far. One stumbled at the starting line before the race had even really begun. Others crossed the finish line standing tall, proving that a machine built to walk like a person can now also endure a real-world endurance test built for humans. Then there are the robot dogs, and these things are genuinely unsettling the first time you watch them move. Unitree's Geo 2 weighs about 15 kilograms, roughly the size of a medium-sized real dog, but it can run at speeds up to 11 miles per hour, which is faster than most people jog. It can climb stairs while balanced on just its 2 front paws, something that looks almost impossible for a machine with no visible sense of balance. The higher-end versions can throw themselves into a full backflip and land cleanly on all 4 legs. It uses a laser-based sensor system that can detect objects as close as 5 centimeters away in almost every direction around its body, which is part of why it almost never bumps into things. These robot dogs aren't just party tricks for tech conventions either. At the Asian Games held in Hangzhou, robot dogs were used on the actual playing field to carry equipment like discus and javelins back to athletes, and the crowd reportedly loved it. Basic versions of the Geo 2 start at around $1,600, which puts a walking, talking, backflipping robot within reach of an ordinary hobbyist budget, not just research labs with massive funding. Because they're cheap, fast, and packed with sensors, versions of these robot dogs are also starting to show up in security patrol work, trotting around warehouses, industrial sites, and public spaces at night, using their cameras and sensors to spot problems a fixed security camera would simply miss. A camera bolted to a wall can only watch one angle. A robot dog can walk the whole perimeter itself all night without ever needing a coffee break. Now, here's where things shift from impressive to genuinely eerie. There's a company in China called X Robots that doesn't build robots that look like machines at all. They build robots that look like people, real people. Their engineers use silicone skin so detailed it includes visible veins, tiny pores, and even goosebumps when touched in the right way. The company has built lifelike robotic versions of historical figures, including Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, and Stephen Hawking, robots that can talk, answer questions, and tell stories about their own lives as if they were still around. Building just one of these takes engineers roughly 2 to 4 weeks, and prices for a full Android start around $110,000, climbing well past $200,000 for the most advanced full-body versions. These aren't locked away in some secret lab either. X Robots runs an actual museum in the city of Dalian filled with these lifelike machines, sitting right inside the same building where the robots are built. Engineers there have talked about using techniques borrowed from movie special effects, things like 3D scanning a real person's face and body, then 3D printing custom silicone parts shaped exactly like them, right down to matching the veins visible on the back of someone's hand. Beijing recently opened something even stranger, an entire 4-story shopping mall dedicated entirely to robots, nicknamed the Robot Mall. It's set up like a car dealership with sales, repairs, spare parts, and customer service all under one roof, except instead of cars, they're selling robots. Inside, you'll find more than 100 types of robots from over 40 different companies, ranging in price from around $278 all the way up to models worth millions. There's a robot-controlled restaurant with machines acting as waiters, baristas, and even bartenders, plus an area where visitors can watch robots compete against each other in soccer matches and track events. Visitors can walk up to a lifelike Einstein robot worth roughly $97,000 and have a conversation with him about the theory of relativity, or chat with a robotic recreation of an ancient Chinese poet reciting a 1,000-year-old poem from memory. Here's the honestly unsettling part. Engineers working on these androids openly admit their goal is to make the line between human and machine harder and harder to spot. Give this another few years of progress, and you might not be able to tell whether the person greeting you at a hotel counter or a museum front desk is actually a person at all. And if talking robots feel like they belong in your everyday life now, wait until you see the machines that are quietly reshaping entire industries behind the scenes, where most people never even look. Machines building tomorrow. Some of the most incredible technology in China isn't happening where anyone can see it. It's happening in freezing coal mines, on high-speed test tracks, and inside hospitals that are starting to run on artificial intelligence instead of clipboards. Let's start underground, or more accurately, in an open pit mine in Inner Mongolia, one of the coldest and harshest places to work in the entire country. A fleet of 100 driverless electric mining trucks, built through a partnership involving the tech company Huawei, now hauls coal there completely on its own. Each truck can carry about 90 metric tons of material, roughly the weight of 15 adult elephants. And they keep working in temperatures as low as -40 degrees, cold enough that exposed human skin can freeze in minutes. These trucks are so purpose-built for automation that some of them were designed without a driver's cabin at all. There was never any plan for a human to sit inside, so engineers simply left the space out. When it's time to recharge, robotic systems swap out the massive battery packs in about 6 minutes, and the whole fleet reportedly runs about 20% more efficiently than trucks with human drivers behind the wheel. The trucks are also built to keep working in near-zero visibility, using cameras and radar to see obstacles clearly even in total darkness or a raging sandstorm, something no human driver could safely manage. This matters more than it might sound like at first. Coal mining is one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet, and China's coal industry alone has historically seen thousands of worker deaths a year, with most of those deaths caused by equipment failure or accidents involving heavy vehicles. Taking human drivers out of the cab of a 90-ton truck in a freezing, low-visibility mine isn't just a cool tech demo. It's a direct attempt to keep people out of one of the most hazardous seats in the entire industrial world. Now let's talk about something that sounds almost impossible. Trains that never touch the ground. China already runs the world's fastest operating maglev train, a magnetically levitated train that floats above its track using powerful magnets instead of wheels. The commercial version, running between Shanghai's airport and the edge of the city, already cruises at over 260 miles per hour during a normal, everyday paid ride you can book right now. But the experimental side of this technology gets even wilder. In late 2025, researchers at a Chinese lab pushed a test maglev vehicle to a jaw dropping 700 kilometers per hour, about 435 miles per hour. And it got there in just 2 seconds flat on a track only 400 meters long. That's an acceleration so violent it's closer to a fighter jet catapult launch than anything you'd normally associate with a train. Separate test tracks in China have pushed prototype maglev vehicles past 620 miles per hour, faster than the cruising speed of most commercial airplanes. The scientists working on this technology have said their long-term goal is to eventually break 1,000 kilometers per hour, which would make future maglev trains faster than the jets currently flying overhead. To put that in context, Japan has been developing its own superfast maglev train for more than 3 decades, and it currently holds the record for the fastest maglev ever to carry actual human passengers, at about 375 miles per hour, set back in 2015. The Japanese train still isn't open to the public today, held up for years by permit disputes and local pushback. China, meanwhile, already has a working commercial maglev line carrying paying passengers every single day, and its test tracks are now chasing speeds the rest of the world hasn't even attempted yet. There's an even stranger cousin to this technology being tested too. A Chinese aerospace company built a 2-kilometer-long sealed tube with most of the air sucked out of it, similar to the idea behind a Hyperloop, and sent a levitating test vehicle through it at 387 miles per hour. With almost no air resistance to fight against, the vehicle could reach speeds that would be nearly impossible in the open air. No Hyperloop system anywhere in the world carries paying passengers yet, but tests like this one show that the basic idea, trains that fly through nearly empty tubes, faster than airplanes, is inching closer to becoming real. Machines are changing farm work too. Chinese companies have built large agricultural drones that fly low over fields, spraying pesticide or scattering seeds across huge stretches of farmland in a fraction of the time it would take a person walking with a backpack sprayer. These drones use onboard sensors to avoid trees, power lines, and other obstacles automatically. And some can keep working after dark, guided entirely by GPS instead of a farmer's eyes. Automated planting machines are also spreading across the countryside, capable of covering several hectares of land in a single day, work that used to require dozens of laborers working together for that same stretch of time. And then there's healthcare, which might be the most surprising frontier of all. Researchers at Tsinghua University built something called an agent hospital, an entirely virtual simulated hospital where AI-powered doctor characters treat AI-powered virtual patients to train and improve themselves. In testing, these AI doctor agents scored more than 93% accuracy answering questions from the United States medical licensing exam, questions real human doctors have to pass to legally practice medicine. It's essentially a flight simulator, but for training artificial doctors instead of pilots. That research is now stepping out of simulation and into the real world. In March of 2026, China opened what officials are calling the country's first officially recognized AI hospital, located in Hainan province. The idea is to connect every part of a patient's experience using artificial intelligence. You upload your symptoms and medical history through your phone before you even arrive. AI helps sort and prioritize your case, so doctors already have a summary ready when you walk in. And after your visit, the same system follows up automatically with medication reminders and check-ins. Instead of carrying around a stack of paper folders from one hospital to another for years, your entire health history follows you digitally everywhere you go. To understand how deep this technology runs, though, you have to look past the big, flashy machines and look at something much closer to home, the small, everyday habits of hundreds of millions of ordinary people, the country that never stops watching. Here's where this story stops being about robots you can point a camera at and starts being about something quieter and, honestly, a little more unsettling. Start with airports. At Shanghai's Hongqiao Airport, passengers can clear security using facial recognition technology in as little as 12 seconds. Letting the terminal process roughly 2,000 travelers every single hour without a single human checking a boarding pass by hand. At other major airports, similar systems let passengers check in, drop a bag, pass through security, and board a flight without saying a single word to another human being from start to finish. China's immigration authorities have also expanded smart, face, and fingerprint-based clearance lanes to a dozen ports of entry around the country, letting eligible travelers walk through in a fraction of the time it takes to hand documents to a border officer. Standing in a slow-moving customs line for 20 minutes might soon feel like something out of an old photograph. Then there's how people actually pay for things, which has quietly become almost unrecognizable compared to a wallet full of cards. Through a system called Palm Pay, built by the company behind WeChat, people can pay for a coffee, a train ride, or groceries simply by hovering their bare hand over a small scanner. The scanner isn't reading your fingerprint. It's reading the unique pattern of veins underneath your skin, a pattern that's actually more secure and harder to fake than a regular fingerprint. There's no phone to pull out, no card to swipe, no password to remember. You just hold out your hand, and the payment goes through in about a second. This started in a handful of subway stations and university dining halls, and it has since spread to thousands of locations, including convenience stores, casinos, and even power bank rental stations. It has now reached beyond mainland China into places like Macau, and payment companies are actively building bridges so that international travelers visiting China can eventually tap into the same kind of instant, cardless payment system most locals already take for granted. And maybe the most important shift of all is happening in classrooms. Starting last fall, Beijing made it mandatory for every single student, starting as young as 6 years old, to take at least 8 hours of artificial intelligence classes every school year. This isn't optional, and it isn't just for kids interested in computers. More than 1,400 schools across the city are now teaching AI concepts to every grade level, from elementary school all the way through high school, and the plan is already spreading well beyond Beijing to the rest of the country. The lessons actually build on each other year after year instead of repeating the same basics. 6- and 7-year-olds start with hands-on, playful lessons about what AI even is, often through games rather than lectures. By 3rd grade, students are covering foundational concepts. By 4th grade, they move into working with data and basic coding. By 5th grade, the lessons shift toward algorithms and what teachers call intelligent agents, which is really just a fancy way of describing AI systems that can make their own decisions. Junior high students study how machine learning actually works under the hood, and importantly, how to spot AI-generated misinformation before it fools them. High schoolers are expected to apply everything they've learned to real, practical problems, building actual projects instead of just reading about theory. there are limits built in too. Younger kids aren't allowed to use generative AI tools on their own without supervision, and teachers aren't allowed to let AI replace their own core teaching responsibilities. By the time these kids graduate high school, they will have spent over a decade being trained to think alongside artificial intelligence, not just react to it after the fact. Put all of this together for a second. Cars that see the road better than a human driver ever could, robots that walk among us and in some cases look exactly like us, payment systems that recognize the veins in your hand, airports that know your face before you even reach the counter, and an entire generation of children being raised from age 6 to build, question, and work alongside artificial intelligence as naturally as they learn to read. None of these things are happening in some far-off, undecided future. They're happening right now in 2026, spreading faster with every single year that passes. The real question isn't whether this kind of technology eventually reaches the rest of the world. Given how fast it's moving, that seems almost inevitable. The real question is simpler and much harder to answer. When it does arrive at your own front door, are you actually going to be ready for it? If this video opened your eyes even a little bit, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next, and drop a like before you go. And I want to know this. Out of everything you just saw, the dancing supercar, the lifelike androids, the robot dogs doing backflips, or the 6-year-olds learning to code, which one genuinely shocked you the most? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one.